Hey, what's up, guys? This is Harry Dell, and this is my reaction to the post-fight for Mayweather versus Maidana 2. Let's go ahead and start off with the undercards. Listen, for Angulo, uh, you know, you gotta, I love the guy, but his career is done. Angulo needs to retire for his own health, for the sake of his own health. He just needs to retire. His career is over. He it, his punches just they don't look like nothing. There's nothing behind those punches anymore. Yeah, he had De La Rosa hurt towards the end, but that has to do with De La Rosa being an idiot and following stupid instructions. Having the corner tell him to cruise the last couple rounds, and he was a little bit tired from doing that, so he got caught, but was able to stay on his feet. Yeah, Angulo just does not have it anymore, and it's time for him to hang him up. He had a good career. At a certain point in his career, it was good. He fought some good names, but it's time for him to hang him up. All right, the next one, Vasquez versus Bay. Guys, that was terrible. I don't care what you say. You can't. Nobody can defend that fight. That was just fucking trash. That was terrible. I was falling asleep. I went to see it at a movie theater. And we had came off the Angulo De La Rosa fight, where it was pretty exciting towards the end. And everybody was pulling for Angulo in the theater, listening to Virgil Hunter talk to him, prep talking to him like I felt like I was watching Rocky and shit. And then it went from that to Vasquez versus Bay. I mean, oh god, man, people were falling asleep. People left. I was just, man, I just got on my phone, and I didn't even give a crap about scoring that fight. You know why? Because I can give. I can't. I don't give a crap about either one of those fighters. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I've been following both of them for their whole careers. Like, I don't give a shit about both of them. Okay, Vasquez is unappreciated, ex-champ for a fucking reason, because he does not bring nothing to the table. If you want to be a star, if you want to be a fucking champion that is loved by the people, you have to put yourself on the line. You have to fight. Boxing is boxing, yes. It's great to see guys use the sweet science, hit and not get hit, or hit and not get hit and be in position to hit again. But that was just bullshit. Neither one did enough to win. Neither one of them deserved even a fucking draw. So Mickey Bay picks up a fucking, a fucking sticker championship. It's not even a real belt. Let's just give him a sticker. But he's gonna get spoon fed to the other champions. Crawford will just tear him apart. Figueroa, if he stays at 135, he'll just knock him out. If his hands are healthy. But anyways, moving on to Santa Cruz fight. Come on, he fought his sparring partner. There's not much to talk about there. He said he's not afraid to fight Rigondeaux. Okay, well, let's go ahead and fight him. If you don't want to fight Rigondeaux next, work your way up. Fight somebody within the top 3, within the top 2, somebody, and then fight Rigondeaux maybe towards the end of next year. We got to see where this kid is really trying to go with his career. If he's even in control of it, because I mean, why shouldn't he be? That's how every boxer should be. They should be their own managers. They should run their careers. Anyways, moving on to the main event. I had predicted Maidana to knock Mayweather out, and I will, if you saw my prediction video, I was saying, Floyd is talking about being more aggressive and really trying to, in the All Access episodes, he was given this perception of him being more aggressive. I know All Access is just, it's just a long ass promo for the casual fans. Okay, but you have to look at things, up close sometimes. When you see Floyd, constantly talking about, I want to bring fans excitement. Look, if we have not learned our lessons before. Last night was kind of like the last the last straw. Floyd is not going to bring anybody entertainment or excitement or anything like that. Floyd is probably one of the worst pay-per-view stars that I have ever watched. And we don't get too many of them, but he is definitely the worst one because he says he fights to excite the fans, for the fans. He doesn't give a shit about you fans. The ones that are fans of boxing or the ones that are fans of just him. He doesn't care about any of us. He wants to just win the way he wants to win. He was the master of clinching and fucking circling the ring. Look, you can call it, oh, you don't know shit about boxing. That's boxing. That is not boxing. If people say it's about getting hitting and not getting hit. Okay, hit him, don't get hit, and then try hit him again. Get it, be in there. Really test your defense. Really see if you could take this guy out. So there is no question of how great you supposedly really are. And let me just make this real clear. Floyd's skills are top notch, but he never took chances. He always played it safe. He always, finds a way to say he's going to do this and that, and nothing of that sort happens. Nothing like that happens in his fights. Yesterday was a clear statement by Floyd in saying, you're going to pay $75 to see me avoid punches by circling the ring for almost the entire fight and clinching, running in clinching. He even fell down because he was trying to run in to clinch Maidana in the opening round. And he straight up, what he did in the last fight, he swapped it for circling around and clinching. That's all he really did. What adjustments? What? Instead of staying on the ropes and catching and shooting, he just clinched and moved around, popped, moved around. Maidana, he looked a lot more light on his feet this time. Of course, he weighed a lot less. But he wasn't, able to get any work done. Kenny Bayless, oh my God, that was a disgraceful job. That was just criminal. He needs to look. Before the fight, before we knew who the ref was, everyone anticipated, okay, the next ref is already has already in mind that Maidana's dirty, that Maidana does this, Maidana does that. If you want to tell me Floyd wasn't trying to get Maidana disqualified in that 8th round, you're lying to yourself. Floyd clearly wanted to end the fight like that. He was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get him DQ'd. I'm gonna scream from the top of my lungs. And I remember seeing the crowd. Seeing the crowd, when I'm watching it on screen, seeing the crowd there, we're all looking at you, what the fuck's going on? And everybody in the theater was like, what the fuck? Why is he screaming? And then he was, you heard him say, he bit me. Guys, that whole biting accusation was so inconsistent. First of all, the way he grabbed Maidana's face, what is his hand doing there? What is his glove doing on Maidana's face in the first place? On top of that, when he claimed he got bit, he was pointing to his thumb area, where his thumb is. And all of a sudden, when after the fight's over, they take the gloves off and he's pointing at his middle fingers. Like, that doesn't make sense. Your fingers, your hand wasn't across, up and down. Your hand was from ear to ear, palm to the fingertip, ear to ear. How the hell is he gonna bite you when your fingertips are on the totally other side of his head? He wasn't even consistent with his lie. That was just a unnecessary, I guess, break from the fight. But look, I sound pissed off because I am, because I expected a lot from Floyd. If he said he was going to really show everybody that he is great and he is better than Maidana, come on, man. Look, the way he fought last night was the way he fought Castillo. And another coincidence is Kenny Bayless looked just like Joe Cortez when Mayweather fought Haddon. And even what's even funnier is Joe Cortez refereed the Castillo rematch. And before the fight, Joe Cortez was interviewed and he said, you know, this fight with Mayweather Maidana 2 is going to be similar, actually exactly the same, just like Castillo 2. He reffed Castillo 2 and I remember that fight. As soon as they got close, Joe Cortez was right there. Look, Kenny Bayless, man, you just sold out, man. You're a sellout. That was just terrible refereeing, terrible. The whole card was just garbage. I mean, I'm glad I only paid $20 for the ticket, because imagine paying $75 just to see it you know, in the comfort of my own living room. I mean, I saved $55, but still, like, shit. Like, that is just... Yesterday, boxing went a foot lower below the ground. Just another foot lower. Before you know it, no one's going to be able to dig it out. Because casual fans is what keeps the sport alive, especially in boxing. And unless Mayweather fights Pacquiao, I don't see him making any significant high pay-per-view numbers. I don't know how Showtime is going to be making money off of this. They fucked up on that deal. And I feel that they are going to start pushing for the Pacquiao fight. And I would not be surprised if Floyd tries to get out of his contract. I'm telling you this right now. I will not be surprised if we hear Floyd say, I'm retiring, I'm going to take a break, in order to get out of that contract. It's going to be a messy situation, but I can assure you, we might get something like that. We might hear him say, I'm done. Because he's been done many times before and he's come back. Usually when somebody's hot in the division, or a couple guys are hot in the division, that's when he takes a long break. A year and a half, 2 years at most. But this time around, he's going to do it because, yeah, there's a little bit of heat in the 147. And there is this push for the Pacquiao fight. I don't think he wants that fight. It's clear he does not want that fight. Look, Floyd Mayweather, he rejected a contract from HBO years ago while he was still at 130 pounds. This was, this was in year 2000, and HBO offered him a deal. It was 12.5 million, and he rejected that offer because, you know, it was for a 6-fight deal. And Floyd rejected it because HBO at the time was pushing for him to fight Freitas. And if you don't know who Freitas is, he was the top dog at 130, right next to Floyd, undefeated. You know, he was unifying titles with Casamayor. Nobody wanted to fight Casamayor either. You know, look, but there's a video on that. You can see it if you've ever seen those videos. It's called Floyd Mayweather Fighters He Never Fought Part 1, and there's a Part 2. If you guys haven't seen him, go on my channel and check him out, and you'll get to understand what I'm talking about. But anyways, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Floyd does not want to fight next year. Look, there's talks about Khan, there's talks about Thurman. There's not really Thurman. People are asking for it, but come on, I don't think Floyd is going to take that fight. Thurman and Khan, from the interviews that I saw, and from what came out of their mouths, they know Floyd has slowed down. Floyd showed his age last night. He was getting hit with shots he would never get hit with. He was getting countered, trying to counter. When does that happen? That never happens. Maidana at times was outboxing Floyd in spots. And if he would have mixed that up with his, pressure, come forward, bulldozing style, he would have took the win. Look, Keith Thurman knows Floyd's taken a couple steps back. He's lost not just one or two, he's lost a couple steps. He's lost quite a few. Khan knows it. He said he saw Floyd slow down. And he has. Floyd has slowed down. He does, I had a friend of mine. He won a bet. He bet Mayweather to win by unanimous decision. He won the bet, but he told me, he says, "Hey man, I'm not betting on Floyd anymore. This is the last time I bet on Floyd. He didn't look too good, and Khan, Thurman, Pacquiao might beat him. He looks vulnerable, so I'm not gonna bet on him next time. I don't want to take that chance." Look, who do I think he should fight? I believe, or who will he fight? Look, who will he fight? It's really hard to say, because everybody thought right after he beat Canelo last year that it was Khan. Everybody was talking about Khan. All the news, all the websites were talking about it's Khan. It's official. It's going to be Mayweather at Wembley or whatever, Las Vegas. And look what happened. This whole poll bullshit. Khan wins the poll, but loses on all the other polls, and it was just a ridiculous little circus that went on. So to say who I think he will fight, if I even think he's going to fight, look, if he's going to fight somebody, it has to be Khan, Thurman, and Pacquiao. No, there's nobody else. Does he want to move up to 154? I highly doubt it, unless he finds. If go 154, what is he gonna do? Fight for what? Another paper championship? Come on. He's gonna. What do you think? He's gonna go to 54 and fight Andre? Get the fuck out of here! Come on. Will he go up to 160 and fight Cotto? That is an intriguing fight for Mayweather. As far as he's gonna get another division if he wins. He has a chance to getting a middleweight title. He's got a chance to make a good amount of money. Pay-per-view sales will be high for that fight. But will he take that fight? Hell no, he won't. Because he knows Cotto, for some crazy reason, maybe not for some crazy reason. I guess he found his right dancing partner in Freddie Roach. He really has lifted Cotto up. We still got to see what Cotto does next year. But right now, what he did against Sergio Martinez, he looked like he was finally relieved of the demons that haunted him when he took those losses to Margarito. And you can see, yeah, Margarito, he cheated. But that still didn't take away the damage that Cotto took. That's never going to go away. He went through that. Cheating or not cheating, he still had to go through it, and he still took that loss, and he still took that terrible beating. Then, the year after against Pacquiao, then you see him take, struggling against guys like Mayorga and Foreman, and just, it was just, he was not looking good. And Cotto just, after the Martinez fight, he just looked relieved. Like, he's like, finally, I'm back to where I was in early 2008, where nobody wanted to fuck with me, when Mayweather was pretending he didn't know who I was. That's the Cotto I saw after the Martinez fight. Well, we got to see who he's going to fight next. Most likely it's Canelo, but we got to wait and see. But anyways, Mayweather, look, if he doesn't fight Pacquiao in the next fight, you're not going to sell $10 of pay-per-view. I know that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. Like, come on. You understand my point. He's not going to sell any fights. Showtime is going to get frustrated. I think they're really pushing it because they're like, hey, you got 2 fucking fights left. What? Have we made any money? Has Showtime made any money, guys? Seriously. Look, the way the undercard was put together, the type of undercard that was put together, it shows you how cheap they're trying to be, because they know that Floyd's numbers are fucking up. The only good number he's done with Showtime was, of course, the Canelo fight, because Canelo's a huge star. Like, come on, you didn't need a press tour, you didn't need nothing to sell that fight. And you know, it was that, but that's it. What could do more than that? Pacquiao, if he looks excellent against Algieri, that's a different topic. If Pacquiao wins, you know, we should be hearing serious talks about this fight happening. And if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be Pacquiao's fault. There's not really nothing you could put on the guy. There's nothing. He's accepted everything, but you know, this is a different topic. I don't want to get too much into it. But anyways, Floyd did show his age. And you know, somebody mentioned in the comments, you know, and they said, "Hey man, you know, Mayweather got hit with that shot that you were talking about in the prediction." And I remember when you know, there was 10 seconds left in the third round, and you see Floyd backing up, and I was like, man, he's gonna either do one of them check hooks, or he's just going to wait and see what Maidana does, maybe throw a jab, and maybe try to counter. And he did just that, and Maidana did exactly what I knew he was going to try to do, because he, in the first fight, when he figured out that he could land by using that strategy, as far as countering the straight right hand lead with his own right hand, you know, he knew that he had a chance, if you know, to do it in this fight, and he worked on it. And he's like, you know what, if I get it right on the button, I can take him out. When he landed that punch, you know, and in the theater, you know, you got, you know, diverse fans, you know, well, actually just one or two, either Maidana fans or Mayweather fans. And the Mayweather fans, you know, they were cheering, they're like, yeah, you know, doing this. When he got hit, they all just stayed quiet, because they saw how Floyd buckled. And I remember going, holy shit, I'm about to make like the most pinpoint precise predictions ever on YouTube, because he did exactly what he did, the exact same punch that I said he was going to do, and he was going to work on, and he was probably going to have more success with. And look what happened. Can you imagine if that was, you know, halfway through the round, or the beginning of the round? Because let's, you know, I don't want to hear that Floyd tripped or Floyd was off balance. I saw the fight. If you can find it on YouTube, it's on YouTube. It's some Russian, or I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with any of those languages over there, but it sounded like Russian. And somebody posted it on YouTube already last night. I don't know if it's still up, but I watched the fight, and I watched that part a couple times just to really make sure and see, okay, to look at the feet first. Was there any tangles, to see if, you know, Floyd was just, he stepped wrong? No, Floyd was hurt, man. Floyd was fucking hurt. He was saved by the bell. Completely saved by the bell. He was fucked up. Maidana, when he was walking to his stool, he kept looking back at Floyd. He kept turning around, looking at Floyd, staring at Floyd, because he wanted to look in his eyes, and he wanted to see if he's hurt. He wanted to see if his legs are trembling, because he knew he hurt Mayweather, and he was probably like, damn, if you just give me like 25, 30 more seconds. Floyd was hurt. He had his hands down after that. He grabbed onto the ropes. He was hurt. Maidana hit him clean, and he hit him right on the mouth. He didn't even hit him right on the chin, like, you know, that little spot right under the bottom lip, just right there. He was close to hitting him right there, and he probably would have dropped. But even with that, he was able to hurt Floyd. And I remember seeing Thurman. I see reactions from, you know, I saw the reaction because, you know, you saw Thurman right there in the seats below, just ringside. You see Danny Garcia, you see Amir Khan, you see these fighters. They all reacted the same. Like, whoa, they were looking at it like, oh, damn, he got hurt. And Thurman just kept staring at Floyd. I was watching Thurman, and he kept looking at Floyd, and then he kept looking back at Maidana, and then kept looking back at Floyd, because he saw something. And he's like, you know what, if that was my right hand, he would have been done. And look, can we all stop saying Mayweather's going for the knockout, or he's going to win by knockout? He has no power. Like, I don't really talk about his power because there's nothing to talk about. But and it's not even trying to make fun of. I'm not even trying to clown on Floyd. This is what you don't understand. I'm not even trying to make fun of him or nothing. Like, you know, because what? Because he doesn't have punching power, he's not a man, or if he doesn't have punching power, he's not great. He just doesn't have punching power. He can't knock anybody out. The last guy he knocked out was a small guy moving up to welterweight, Ricky Hatton. And yes, he fought at welterweight before that fight, but he was regularly on at 140. And even if he was fighting at welter, he was a small welterweight. And come on, he ballooned up so much. He was so fat between fights that it killed him. That exhaustion plus, you know, no head movement plus Cortez interfering. You know, it finally, you know, Mayweather was able to catch him with a clean shot, and then, you know, Hatton was just exhausted. But after that, and you can't count Ortiz. You just can't. Yes, he got the win, but come on. Even the Mayweather fans, even if you're a Mayweather fan, come on, you know that Ortiz shit was dirty. Floyd admitted it. He admitted it after the fight. You know, besides that, like, you know, he has no power. I've told you, because he has hand problems. He fucks up his hands. He's broken his hands before. And he knows that he can't keep somebody at bay with his punching power, so he relies on moving. And I really didn't expect Floyd to clinch as much as he did. I expected him to move, but I didn't expect him to move as much as he did. Overall, my impressions of the whole card, it was disappointing, and I'm not trying to sound bitter, or I'm not trying to sound like, yeah, you know, like a lemon, like Eddie Hearns be saying, like a dumbass. I'm just being honest with you. You know, that fight was that whole fight card was a letdown. It really was. Well, but let me see what's next with Floyd. Like I said, only he knows. What's next for Maidana? Maidana, he could fight anybody that's top 10 in the welterweight division. He, to me, is very underrated. As a boxer, as a fighter in general, he's always been underrated. He's always been overlooked. You know, Maidana, I would like to see him in any fight. He's exciting. The thing I love about Maidana is he can give boxers trouble. When he's in shape and he really wants it, he gives boxers trouble. And he can outbox brawlers. He has the capability of doing that. That's what's very unique about Maidana. You know, you put him in there with another slugger, another guy that just brawls, he's going to outbox the brawler and then mix it up with his own brawling because he knows he's got the power. So I can see him going in there with, you know, Guerrero, if Guerrero doesn't want to fight Khan, if Guerrero doesn't want to fight at all this year again, which I know he shouldn't be sitting on that money because it's going to run out soon. He's going to have to fight again, and I would like to see him, Guerrero versus Maidana. I'd like to see you know, there's a possibility of there's a possibility of Kell Brook fighting Maidana for next year. You know, Hearns probably feels that, hey, you know, Mayweather used the tying up, or he calls tying up. I'm calling clinching. He used the clinching tactic on Maidana, and it worked perfectly. I'm pretty sure Brook will be able to do the same. You know, with Brook being bigger and stronger, taller, you know, more power. Hearns might be like, hey, let's give him Maidana. Let's see if he can defend the title against Maidana. I think we got a good shot, and it would be an intriguing fight in England. Of course, it's going to take place in England. You know, there's a history between, you know, rivalries between, you know, Argentina and England. Of course, it's coming from soccer, but I mean, come on, soccer fans appreciate boxing or not love boxing just as much as soccer. I know that goes for me. I love both sports. Those are my two wives, boxing and soccer. But yeah, that would be a great fight. England versus Argentina. There's a lot of history with rivalries with those nations in sports. So that would be an intriguing fight. and that fight could possibly happen. But anyways, look, I don't want to be on here too long. I want to know what you guys think. What's going to happen with the sport? Who is going to be the savior of the sport? Because let's be honest, boxing is not staying afloat much longer if we get, type of cards like this. Cheap cards, selfish cards from the networks. It's just, man, this is terrible. It's crazy because, there's boxing over the past years haven't been the best, of course, compared to, let's say, the 60s, 70s, 40s, 30s, 80s. The 90s, right now is just the best aren't fighting the best, and that needs to start happening. They need to start really investing in these cards. Put in a fucking welterweight tournament. Put a Super 6, Super 8 tournament as a pay-per-view card. Fucking Thurman versus fucking whoever, man, because he fought anybody. Let's just say, Thurman versus Khan, and fucking Brook versus Maidana, and Guerrero versus Porter. Fucking everybody all in one card. All the top welterweights in one card. And then top it off with Floyd versus fucking Pacquiao. I don't know, something to bring this sport back to where it needs to be. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, see you later.